Hello again, everyone. Gosh, Ebony, Yamini, such a phenomenal session. Thank you all for sharing your insights and your experience. I am thrilled about our upcoming discussion. Our next guest, Marcela Sapone, is a visionary entrepreneur, systems thinker, and advocate for building more humane, intentional ways of working. Marcela has been a leading voice for pro-human, pro-labor policies in the sharing economy and has worked with the Brookings Institution, the Secretary of Labor, the Obama White House on the future of work. And her work has earned her recognition from Fast Company, Forbes, Goldman Sachs, and TechCrunch Disrupt, among others. As co-founder and CEO of Hello Alfred, she has helped pioneer a new category of service rooted in empathy, trust, and care. Values she believes should be at the heart of every company. Please join me in welcoming Marcela. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
It is my great pleasure. Thank you for having me.
We are thrilled for today's conversation, and I'd love to jump in and start off by asking what inspired you to build Hello Alfred, and how did empathy shape your vision from the start?
Sure. I think probably that's the best place to start, because I'm sure not all of you know what it is. And if you have heard of it, that's fabulous. We are a home management platform. So that means we are bringing home services like groceries, cleaning, pet care, dry cleaning, prescriptions to apartment buildings across North America and Canada. And we have evolved the business from this model of bringing home help into different families' homes to really assist in the shared labor that goes into running a household into property management. So today we manage $20 billion worth of apartment buildings in 35 different states. And the one thing that was really the impetus for starting the business was feeling the pain ourselves. My co-founder and I were working 80, 90-hour weeks earlier in our career. And we were thinking, how is it possible for us to also be mothers and parents, and to also be interesting people, and really find that balance of wanting to contribute in the different vectors of our life. And we went to a lot of women, and we had just graduated from business school. So we went on a little bit of a safari, and we reached out to all of these amazing alumni of our business school. And we said, please help us visualize what the next 10, 20 years of our life could look like. How were you successful? And the number one answer we got from every single person was, I didn't do it alone, and I got really good at asking for help. I think that's uniquely hard for really successful, hard-charging women, because there is kind of a feeling of like, to get ahead, you got to do it yourself, and you got to pick yourself up and just get through it. And the reality is, when we help each other, the equation really changes. It's not 1 + 1, it can be 11. And because it feels amazing to receive help and to give it. And that was kind of the big unlock when people said, well, we don't really understand what you're doing here. What you're asking people to do is to trust you with access to their homes when they're not there, so that you can help them with their chores equivalent. And that was what we offered the market in 2014, which was kind of the beginning of the Uber for everything sharing economy. And it is something we were able to do millions and millions of times. And we have built a network of trust with our customers and with our employees. And a really beautiful thing that I think is a little bit different than buying things online, we build relationships with our customers that are built in a way where we get to really know our end users' needs. The geographies that we work in are all different. The families and the demographics are all different. And you get to know your home manager, your property manager, in a way where you have a relationship. And that type of exchange, I think, is so healthy for the economy, because it moves us from a transactional, almost unconscious economy to really conscious, like relationship-based, where both parties are getting more than just a transactional service. So in there.
Wow. I mean, it's a brilliant business model. And I can speak from firsthand experience that as a full-time employee, a mother, a partner, sister, right? All the rest of it. I want to be able to show up and give my best to all of those facets of my identity. But it can be tough to juggle it all in certain chapters and moments. And asking for help is so critical to being able to complete that juggling act, navigate that juggling act. And I think it's really important that we lean in to that and allow for that community to form. And that's really what you've built, which is incredible. I'd love to learn about some of the decisions early on that you made that honored both the customer and the worker experience. Given the business model, I'd love to dissect that just a bit more, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So when we first started, part of how we thought about this kind of really how do we build one of the most trusted brands out there, because we're doing activities that haven't really been done before, to have the trust of our consumers to enter into their most intimate and sacred space, which is their home, and to really observe their life week after week. And where we ended up was, well, our end user, our customer, is not actually our customer. Our customer is our employee. And we empower them and put an enormous amount of trust into them and give them the tools, the resources, the protocols to be able to make decisions and to feel like they really, truly are empowered and trusted and rewarded for being a part of our community and really being an ambassador of our brand. Then that is how we're going to have a safe and secure network of service workers. And back in 2014, that was very unpopular. I think everybody was really focused in this 1099 labor direction. So it's kind of the opposite of empowering your employees and giving them health care, giving them benefits, allowing them to make decisions. And as time has now evolved and we've gone through things like COVID, I think there's been a renewed understanding of the importance of essential work and that there are service jobs that cannot be replaced with regards to caretaking and how we show up for one another. And that there is a craving for a sense of hospitality and care in this country that has evolved through time. And what's been really satisfying and gratifying to see is that the culture that we built, we were able to kind of take that as like a protocol, so to speak, and share that with lots of different service companies in different parts of the economy. And what we found is when you really put the worker at the center of your business, the rewards that you get in retention rates, in the net promoter score of your brand, in the retention rate, not only for your employees, but also for your customers, the long-term value of your customer. It's so statistically significant and has such a meaningful economic impact. And it's one of those things where sometimes it's just like when you do the right thing, you get the right outcomes. Right. And it's been a really gratifying thing to see. And then the other thing is just really thinking about things in a local way. And we think about our property managers as kind of like local DJs. They understand their neighborhood. They know what the local services are in their neighborhoods. They champion for local businesses and small businesses. So we are kind of like the equivalent of like an anti-Amazon in a sense, coming back to like really that relationship-based style of serving one another, which I think is a really healthy part of our economy and our entrepreneurship in this country, which really fuels economic growth.
I love that. And one of the pieces I made a note about is the quantifiable success of this business model. It's very much people first, people centered, community focused. But you are able to see from a metrics perspective that objectively it makes a lot of sense to pursue this direction. And I'd love to dig in on this people first approach. You mentioned a few of the intentional choices you made to really center dignity in the business model. I made a note about, healthcare benefits and other offerings that you've brought to your workforce. What other choices did you make, whether it was early on or as you scaled the business, to really center dignity in the business model as you've outlined?
Yeah, I think part of it is we try to create an environment where there was an enormous amount of transparency at every level of the business, and transparency as to like who are these people that we are, what does everyone do? and what is the job's key activity, and how does that contribute to the bigger mission? And then to actually do job swapping. So our home managers are in the field. They're talking to customers. They're working with small businesses. They are in the buildings that we operate. And we would hire engineers or business operators who would work in our headquarters. And they would all be required on a quarterly basis to go out in the field and to shadow with our home managers. And I think it created this enormous amount of empathy and understanding for different experiences and how vital everyone was to each other, having a healthy, secure, safe, and actually like joyful work environment. And then we would do the same thing where we'd bring people in the field into HQ, and we really focused on moments of coming together and leadership development. Every 3 years, we relook at our values and how those values are being espoused in our organization, and are we going back and making decisions? And one of our key values has always been empathy. And every year it comes back as a living value that the organization has. And I can't underscore enough how powerful that is as a lived value. And it requires like very conscious decision making around taking the perspective of each and every employee and every stakeholder and following their experience all the way through. So like a lot of marketers will think through like a consumer brand journey, and or maybe if you're in HR, you'll think about the candidate experience, and maybe you'll think about the offboarding. We take every employee at the organization and actually like go through their experience from days negative, right, when we're recruiting, all the way through to when they're an alumni and bringing them back into our community. And by kind of acting like a consumer product company in all the different facets, it's given us so many insights on things that we can do better, more efficiently, how we can collaborate more, how we can make a big organization. So today we're thousands of people, but how do we make a big organization feel small? How do we give people agency? How do we incentivize people differently? How do we share? As we've become a profitable business and our margins have increased, how do we share those rewards with what we think about as the real entrepreneurs, again, the employees or the home managers who are at the heart of the business? And also just to go back to like moments of crisis and think through what did we do in the past that came really naturally in moments of crisis, and how might we react in the future? And I'll give you an example. During COVID, we had employees, so we had to give PPE, and we also needed to offer to our employees the ability not to work if they didn't feel safe. I mean, we were literally going to grocery stores during COVID. And one thing that we were able to do is anyone who wanted to be furloughed and still receive their health care, they had that option for as long as they wanted at the company. And we were then also doing an employee assistance fund where all of us were pooling resources, and people were still pulling a paycheck even though they were not working. And it was our way of showing up for our community. And I'm really proud of the company. Like it was a really hard, I would say, like 12 to 18 months where we had to really redo the business. It almost felt like we were running like a little bit of a Red Cross situation, because it was just such a different moment in time. But we go back and we look at that as a natural emergence of like how our culture was in caring care for each one of our employees, and the compassion has served us really, really well in, again, doing something that no other brand I think has done at scale, which is to earn the right to be inside people's homes and to be a part of their weekly life, and trying to assist them in having a secure work week and having more time to be a full and whole person.
Wow. Thanks for sharing those stories with us. It is impressive. It is impressive, the work that you're doing, the company that you've built, and how you've shown up for your employees and your customers alike. I made a note that you described your work environment as joyful. And I think anybody listening in today's conversation is either hoping for or looking for an opportunity where they can feel joyful at work. And I think that's a big mission of ours at our collective brands, is to help people find organizations that are the right fit for them and can bring that level of joy within the hours that they're spending in the workplace. And with that, I think there's always a balancing act, right? As I'm sure there's leaders in this audience who are wondering, how can I balance empathy with performance and accountability, and be able to show up in all of those areas? What would be your feedback to those folks?
I actually think that so often we just haven't seen enough examples of where those two things live together. And what we found is back to this idea of being incredibly transparent about salaries. We have salary bands that we stick to, and so everyone knows what band you're at. So the equivalent is like everyone knows each other's salary. We're very clear about performance cycles. We are extremely clear, almost like to the T. Like we have, we've over the years started using software to help us do it, but there's feedback that you're getting from your, there's different, it's kind of a 360 approach. You get feedback from your peers, you get feedback from your direct manager, you get feedback from a skip level. And it creates this feeling of mentorship where it's like, we talk very transparently. This might not be the place for you over a long period of time, but while you're here, we want you to be growing and learning, because that is also how we benefit as an organization. And that level of transparency also on the company's goals and the company's metrics and the company's numbers. When we started the business and it was a startup, my co-founder and I started out business school, the thing that we would do every single week that we've continued to do now almost a decade later is we would begin the week together. And that kind of Monday morning stand-up mentality that maybe you've seen in hospitality or in the restaurant business, we started with that. And still to this day, we have a Sunday night email that goes out to the full company. It includes accomplishments and celebrations of things that have really been standout over the prior week. And it shows our metrics and our numbers so that we're all on the same page. And we hold ourselves accountable, red, green, yellow, on our goals that we articulate for each quarter and for the year. I just like that level of clarity and transparency just like allows everyone to relax into what reality is, and it reduces some of the dissonance and like politics. And then at the end of the week, we would celebrate our wins, and we would have an actual event where we would spend time together. And there was, I would almost describe it as like a camp like setting where every week there might be like a creative thing that was happening that one of the teams would be leading. And it would be something that we look forward to, like to close out the week. And that's like those moments of joy where we're just like, we recognize that a large portion of our life is going into our work and into our colleagues. And there's no like forced socializing, but we're going to contribute. We're going to take 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday, and we are going to invest it in each other as human beings and our community, and about learning with each other, celebrating our accomplishments. And we still do that today. And I think it's really been a very powerful feedback loop that creates a lot of clarity and has allowed us to pivot in moments of crisis very quickly. It has allowed us to, when we're not on our goals, to make incremental changes week after week to achieve them. It has allowed us to create stability, and it has allowed us to grow as leaders as well. And for us to share openly when we haven't hit our own goals or when we've made mistakes. And I think if you really get to a place where you have a learning organization, when you put in these rituals with transparency, compassion, and live this value of empathy towards each and every stakeholder in your ecosystem.
I love that. And I love the fact of making it a ritual, right? It is a constant within your team that every week you have these moments of check-in, reflection, accountability, transparency. And it seems like it's a steady drumbeat within your organization, which is pretty impactful to learn about. We're flying through here, and I wanted to ask a final question, which is your advice for leaders who are listening in and feeling inspired from this conversation and want to build more compassionate cultures, but maybe don't know exactly where to start. What would be step one? What would you advise?
I think that the blueprint that we have with ourselves as leaders and entrepreneurs becomes the way that we interact and form relationships with everyone in our life. And so the very first thing is actually like some compassion towards yourself around your own goals and personal development, and like getting back to like the motivations for why you're doing a thing. And sometimes the motivation might be like, I need to pay the bills. And I think that's okay to be really honest with yourself about what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve. And to come back to that on a regular basis. And I do think that like you can be inspiring with that practice. So starting there, and then growing it and really taking a little bit of time. And it's okay to be direct. And so like I really think that learning how to have conversations that are direct and transparent is being compassionate, and asking questions. I think sometimes I've had many moments where in my career, I'm working with executives or managers who are not hitting their goals. And these can often feel like difficult conversations. But when you are approaching it from a mindset of people are always trying to do their best, and if something isn't working, it's something in the design of what they are doing or the job that they are in that is not a correct fit for them. And if you can just be really compassionate about like it's nothing personal. It's just like, how can we diagnose what's going on and make it better? And sometimes that means exiting people, and you can have those conversations in a really compassionate way, and they can go on to be incredible alumni of the organization. So it's just having, I think, some really like reframing what can be uncomfortable or like something that feels like conflict are actually these incredible moments of growth for both you and for your team.
I love that concept of reframing that conversation. And thank you again for sharing your insight and your story and reminding us that empathy isn't a soft skill. This is a strategic choice that we're talking about, a cultural blueprint of sorts, and a human way to lead and collaborate and build really successful teams, communities, organizations. So thank you, Marcela.
Never been more powerful. I think it can be a competitive edge in this moment in time in this economic environment. So I wish everyone passion for themselves and compassionate management and leadership. And congratulations on all your success and successes to come.
Thank you, Marcela. Next up, I am thrilled to welcome our incredible community specialist. You may have seen her on our previous session, Yamini. She's coming to the stage next. Yamini is the heart of our community, constantly connecting, supporting, and empowering women and allies every day. And right now, she's here to kick off one of the most fun and impactful parts of the summit, which will be our networking session. Over to you, Yamini.
Thank you, Gabi. Yes, hello everyone. You may have seen me before moderating Ebony's session. I'm Yamini Bingurusumi, community specialist at Fairygodboss, and I'm very excited to kick off this networking session with you. As you all know, one of the best things about a summit like this is the connections that you make, whether it's someone in the industry, a potential collaborator, just someone who understands where you're coming from professionally, just someone who gets it like you. And that's really what Fairygodboss is all about. It's about creating a space where women and allies can share experiences, support each other, and grow. If you're not a part of the Fairygodboss community just yet, I'd love to invite you to join us. It's free, and we're going to drop the link to join the community in the chat box now. If you're enjoying the summit so far, you'll definitely love what's happening every day inside the community. I'm in there every day on Fairygodboss, posting, commenting, reading what others have to say, and I'd love to see your voice in the feed as well. So for networking, here's what's next, what you can expect. You will need to click on the networking icon to the left. So it is under the stage icon. It looks like two hands shaking. You'll need to click on that in order to go into the networking space. Once you're in there, you'll be randomly paired with another attendee for a 3-minute chat. It's perfect for introductions, swapping stories, seeing what connections spark. You can chat about what you've liked so far at the summit. And if you're in the middle of a great conversation, once that timer hits 3 minutes, you can actually extend your chat time. So you don't need to stop if the conversation's flowing. If you're not sure where to start, here's a simple icebreaker. You can start with what's been your favorite session at the summit so far, and you can just go from there. So let's dive in. Happy networking. I hope I'll see a few of you out there as well.